Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. So this is the Hogue EX-03. Very interesting knife. I did a review of the Hogue EX-01 in both the 3.5 inch and the 4 inch versions of it. I think when I had the 3.5 inch, I had the auto version, but both of those are excellent, excellent knives. And by the way, I really, really recommend the EX-01 if you're in that $200-ish price range. I really, really think that's a great knife. And I like the 4 inch version better than the 3.5 version if it's legal where you are and everything's good. Check the links below. I'll try to link the EX-01 for you guys. But this is the EX-03. This is also an Leishowitz design, as you can see there. And this is sort of like I would call this budget EX-01. Now, it's not the same design. It's a different design, but it's very similar. The materials are also a little bit different, which makes the price a little friendlier. So we're going to go ahead and do some size comparisons, and we'll talk about the good and the bad. This probably won't be a long review because a lot of this stuff isn't groundbreaking. It's a lot of the same stuff that you would see in the EX-01, just in a different material package and slightly different design. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the Benchmade Griptilian and the Mini Griptilian. You can see this 4 inch version of the EX-03 is a very large knife. That's always great in my book. I like the fact that this is a large knife. Here is the Spyderco Para 2 and the Para 3. Again, this dwarfs both of those. And here is the Spyderco Shaman and the Spyderco Military. So if you like large knives, this Military is going to be one of the ones you should check out. They haven't really done a military, or they haven't done a titanium military in forever, but this is discontinued. But they haven't done a military in quite a long time. I know Sal from Spyderco has said they're going to do another run of the military fairly soon, I think, and there may be some different variations of it coming out, possibly even a compression lock version. So let's go ahead and I think that probably is good for size comparisons. We'll just do the 940. There we go. Again, very big knife. So let's go ahead and talk about the good and the bad on this. First of all, the blade shape on this is excellent. It's a really nice drop point. Leishowitz and Hogue do a really good job on these drop point knives. They really have, they're nice, usually nice and thick stock, as you can see. Let's go ahead and take a Paramilitary 2 so you can see the stock. So nice and thick stock, even with the swedge, maintains good thickness throughout, and the swedge lightens it up a little bit while maintaining a nice tip out the front. So very nice blade shape here. Hogue does a great job of coming down to a very nice EDC-able edge. It is a little thick behind the edge compared to some other, I guess, flat grind knives like you would have with a Spyderco or some of the thinner knives, but I don't think that's what this is meant to do. This is meant to be a work knife. You know, go out, beat it around, and it'll do whatever needs to be done. So the blade shape is not only good, but I think the grind is great for the purpose of this knife. This is more like a Griptilian in the way that people beat the hell out of Griptilians. They use them on construction sites. They use them in plumbing, electrical, all sorts of things. And you can use any knife, or I shouldn't say any knife. You could use a lot of different brands of knives in that way, but not all of them will take the abuse. For instance, I wouldn't recommend you go and use the Bugout, especially one with the plastic scales, in some of those jobs. But the Griptilian would be a good option in some of those jobs. The EX-01 and the EX-03 are probably even better options than the Griptilian for those types of jobs. The blade's a little bit stouter. Obviously the axis lock is a little bit stronger, but I don't think most of those jobs are going to be putting so much stress on a button lock that it's going to be a problem. But you still have that thumb stud construction, really nice action on these, as you can see, and they're pretty fidgety in that way because of the fact that they're button locks. And like I said, 4 inch or 3.5 inch versions. They are made, these ones are made, the EX-03 with 154 cm steel, that's what Benchmade used to use on their Griptilian line. They now use S30V, which is a better steel than 154CM, but is 154CM is more than adequate for EDC use. It is the super steel of sort of yesteryear, but you are seeing a lot of budget knives using it now. You saw one of my knives of the year was the Hazakura from Concept, and that's under $100. I think that knife is about $80 something, and that uses 154CM. You're seeing a lot of other knives in that range use 154CM, but it is still a great steel. Hogue does an excellent job with it. CPM 154 is very similar, so you're not getting a ton of benefit from doing that. And frankly, ProTech uses 154CM in a lot of their knives, and nobody complains at the $300 price point because of the rest of the quality that that they're getting 154CM. I shouldn't say nobody complains. Most people don't complain about it because ProTech does a great job with it. The same is true for Hogue here. So this is the next thing which I'll talk about relative to that blade steel is the price. So these are the 4-inch version is about 150-ish. The 3.5-inch version is 135 ish. And I say that because they sort of fluctuate in price a little bit from site to site and things like that. But they're pretty much that. And you can check the links below for DLT. It does help the channel when you use the links, and it does not cost you anything, so definitely check out the links below. But these, like I said, for the price, this is an excellent build. These are Grivery, I don't know if they're Grivery or FRN, but it's basically a molded plastic. The handles, it's very similar to what the base Griptilian uses. These are carbon fiber, but the base Griptilian will use the Grivery or FRN scales. I know somebody posted Grivery and FRN on the same thing, but they sure do look the same to me. They're both injection molded plastic as far as I'm aware. If you know the difference, post it below, but frankly, I've heard everyone call them the same thing. CF Elite obviously is something a little bit different. But anyway, these are that sort of FRN plastic type of thing. Hogue does a great job with the grip on these. Hogue obviously is known for the grips. So the way they treat the molded plastic, I think, is excellent. So I don't even mind that this is molded plastic. Would I prefer the G10? Yes, because I actually really prefer the EX-01 to the EX-03 because of the fact that you have that G10 construction, and also the ergonomics are a little bit better. But overall, I like that one a little bit better for that reason. The lock on here works just fine. You go ahead and engage the lock. Whoops, actually, sorry. Gotta engage the blade, then engage the lock, and we don't drop, and the lock doesn't drop. Then you unlock it, and boom, this thing drops. So really nice lock in that way, doesn't get in the way. I don't normally like locks. There's some crud in there. I don't normally like locks. I'll get that out after. I don't normally like these locks on these button locks, but on this one it's sort of out of the way. I don't really mind. It doesn't get in the way and doesn't seem to slide around. One of the problems with these locks is they slide around on you. This one doesn't slide around at all. The jimping on this is pretty good. You can, there is a little bit of space in between the, I don't know if you call this a choil, but the groove for the finger and the blade. I like to be as close to the blade as possible, and if you want to go ahead and use this flat to choke up, you can, which is great. So you can get that choke up position and it still feels good. All right, so that all is the good. As far as the bad, there are a couple bad things. I don't like the branding on the Swedge, Hogue, Elishewitz. I'm not a big fan of, I'm not a big fan of the, branding anyway on the blades. I like to see branding in other places, or if you're going to have it on there as close to the handle as possible so it's not out there in the middle of the blade. Don't like the placement on that at all. I also don't like on the clip when you have laser markings and things on the clip. I don't necessarily like to advertise clips or telegraph that I'm carrying a large knife to everyone. I think this clip does telegraph that also in the clip design because it's this massive spoon clip. The clip does work well. I will give it that. Definitely works well. But I do not like the fact that this clip is just massively large, ugly, very shiny. It just, telegraphs everything, and frankly the position is quite low. I don't understand this lanyard hole, because this lanyard hole is very small. If you're going to have a lanyard hole that moves the clips down so much, I think it should probably accommodate a larger lanyard. So that's a problem. The glass breaker, if you can call it that, honestly, I don't know if this breaks glass. I'm not going to try it, but this is plastic. It is not, it doesn't have a glass breaker. Like, a glass breaker is usually, the carbide tip right there, right? That's normally what you think of as your glass breaker. This, I mean, it's a point of plastic. I don't know if it'll actually shatter glass in the right way that you want to when you're trying to use a glass breaker. It's not necessarily going to be a melon crusher because of the fact that, it's plastic, but I guess you could try to use it that way. I mean, it's not the, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, but I don't get this. It's an element of the design I don't get, and yeah, I don't get it. Next thing is I don't like and a couple of the other Hogue button locks do this, but you can definitely see the, where the button lock goes into on the clip side. I like when you sort of build this out so that it hides that, but it's not a huge deal, as Nick Shabazz would say, but it's still a deal. So, yeah, so there's that. Overall, let me see if there's, I think that's pretty much it. As far as, the last thing is ergonomics. So ergonomics on this are probably about 7, maybe, I'll say 7.5, okay? They're not bad. They're not terrible. But, like I said, that placement's a little far from the edge. You can choke up, but I prefer to be closer, especially since there's no choil. And the other thing is that this feels a little thin back here. I have size large gloved hands. It's not the same as the EX-01, or at least it doesn't, not from my recollection. I don't have an EX-01 to compare with here, but my recollection is the EX-01 is fatter out on that end, and it fits my hand a lot better, especially the 4-inch version. I think I had some issues with the 3.5-inch version being a tad small, but still, something that I could adapt to. So small in the handle. The knife blade was totally fine, but I think the handle was a little small. That being said, the handle to blade ratio is pretty decent, and yeah, so that's that. Overall recommendations on this knife. I really do like this knife, guys, and if you're in that $135 price range, so oddly, 100 to 150 as a price range is kind of like a no man's land. Most of the good ones are sort of 150 to 250. And then the budget knives are usually under 100, although they're starting to creep up over 100. And so this is sort of the no man's land. You're going to find the Manix around here. You're going to find the Para 3, but you're not going to find a lot of other knives from other companies in this price range. And I just think that in this price range, this is one that stands out as being, a really, really good knife. That being said, would I recommend this if you had $200 to spend and you were trying to keep your costs down? Would I recommend this? And for that, I'd say no. I would say spend the $200 and get either something in the. It's hard to recommend Spyderco these days because they just keep going up and up and up and up. Benchmade is also getting a little harder to recommend. It used to be that Spyderco was way easier to recommend than Benchmade, but that's changing. And Hogue is really becoming a good value in the category. So I really like the EX-01, and this is the EX-03. So if you can afford, and it's probably going to be a little bit over 200. So I think some of the EX-01s are like 190 something, or at least they were in 2021. And then the EX-01s, there's a couple of the other versions, the 6-hour versions that are over 200, like 212, 224. So any of those are going to be awesome, okay? And I think they're worth the extra money. So if you have $200 to spend and you're saying, hey, if I could, in an ideal scenario, I'd have some extra money in my pocket, I'd still say get the EX-01 rather than the EX-03. But this EX-03 is really good. And if you really are saying, no, I really can't go over 150, I got to be at 150, or it can't go much more than $1 over 150, then this is going to be your guy. This is going to be, especially in this 4-inch blade range, there's not a whole lot of 4-inch knives in this range. So if you're looking for something in that range, yeah, this EX-03 is great. Yeah, the EX-03 3.5 inch is also about 15 bucks cheaper at $135. So it's something to consider, especially if you have laws that you're dealing with that may make it hard to carry a 4-inch knife, or just, you know, people are scared of 4-inch knives. Anyway, those are my recommendations. Go ahead and hit the like button, hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and thank you guys for watching.